Hi everyone, thank you so much for clicking on my channel and welcome to Foundation Friday. The foundation that I have for you guys today is the NARS All Day Luminous Weightless Foundation. I have actually worn this foundation a couple times before, but never for a full 8 hours. It's just kind of been one of those that I've worn for a couple hours. Usually more when I've done really dramatic looks and wanted really full coverage, and then I typically wash it off right after I do those looks because it's a lot of makeup. So I've never really done a true long wearing test of this foundation. So let's go ahead and look at the packaging and the claims of this foundation. Here is the bottle. I love NARS packaging. It's always so like minimalist and sleek and very chic looking. It is a glass bottle. It does have a pump. The lid kind of has like that velvet look to it, that matte velvet look, which is pretty. But it does tend to get very messy if any foundations or powders or any other makeup product gets on it. Like, it's very obvious. This is a full fluid ounce foundation and it retails for $49. Definitely more of a high-end foundation, very pricey, but it does claim to be a full coverage foundation and that you only need a very small amount to use. And I have the color Light 1 Siberia. I'm going to read off of the NARS website because the only thing on the bottle is the name of the foundation. So it says here that it is a full, natural-looking coverage with unexpectedly weightless 16-hour wear, highly pigmented and perfectly balanced. This breakthrough formula builds and blends effortlessly with just one drop. It's uniquely designed to deliver long-wearing, full coverage weightlessly. Even tone technology is designed to instantly neutralize redness and dullness while working long-term to reduce the appearance of discoloration for more even, uniform skin. So in a nutshell, it is supposed to be a full coverage yet weightless and lightweight foundation. If you're interested in seeing me review and demo the NARS All Day Luminous Weightless Foundation, then you're in the right place. Please keep on watching. I have already washed, moisturized, and primed my face, and as usual, I'm using my Professional Matte Rescue Primer. So I'm gonna shake this baby up. It's very watery. I'm gonna start with one pump as usual. It's just such a tiny amount. It's so tiny. This color looks a little too golden for me, a little too yellow. I'm going to apply one side with my brush and the other side with my sponge. Just tap it all over. I'm definitely more pink than this foundation, although my arms and my hands are a little more golden than my face and my neck. So honestly, getting a color match for me is sometimes so tricky. This does say it's a full coverage foundation, so I'm gonna start small. I can already tell you that I don't like applying it with a brush. This is one of those foundations, like other full coverage foundations, when I apply it with a brush, it just sits weird on my skin. It is full coverage though, praise the Lord. I feel like I haven't done a full coverage foundation in so long. All right, so I used a full pump for that side of my face. I'm gonna do another pump for the other side. I definitely prefer blending this out with a sponge as opposed to the brush. I just feel like it blends a lot easier, so I'm gonna go over this side with my sponge just to smooth everything out. I'm kind of wishing right now that I would have used a different primer other than my mattifying one, because I feel like this is clinging to some of my dry areas, like around my nose, and it's looking a little dry in some areas that aren't typically dry on me, like my cheek. I'm just gonna go in with like another half of a pump just so I can test whether or not the coverage is buildable, even though this is like pretty full coverage. There's just a couple spots that I feel like when I went over it with the sponge, it kind of lifted it off a little bit. So I'm just gonna go in with like a tiny bit more and just hit those spots where I want to even out the coverage. This one isn't like building up so great. I feel like the second layer of foundation that I put on top of the first foundation just isn't blending as easily. For being a luminous foundation, it definitely does not look luminous. This is more on the matte side, and I feel like it's drying down to like a powdery finish, which is probably why the second layer didn't go on so well. That's probably why it's clinging to some of my dry spots. There are some areas that I just feel like don't look good. Like it's really clinging over here, which I feel like is such a weird spot for me to have makeup clinging. It just kind of looks like a dry patch now. Same with around my nose, down the bridge of my nose. It's getting weird. It is now 11:33. I'm gonna jump off camera and do the rest of my makeup, and I'll be right back. It is now 12:03. Today kind of turned into a I can't really be bothered with a lot of makeup kind of a day, which, you know, that's okay. There are days like that. So I feel like my concealer blended out over top of the foundation okay, and it helped to kind of balance out the color too. I picked one of my more like pinky undertoned concealers because I felt like the foundation was too golden for me. So I feel like I was able to salvage the color really well. Currently though, I feel like the foundation is just looking dry, which doesn't usually happen to me because I have combination skin where I get really oily in my T-zone. I feel like this foundation kind of created dry patches that I don't even normally have. It does not look terrible by any means, it just looks a little dry. The thing with dry foundations though, at least for me, is that I feel like once you put highlighter on, it kind of becomes very forgiving. Like the highlighter is forgiving of some of those dry spots. So I feel like it's looking a lot better now that I have put on my full face of makeup, but there's still just some spots, especially my nose, that just looked really dry, but it's far less noticeable now that I have highlighter in those areas that looked dry. And sometimes with foundations like this that can be a little bit drying, like when my oils start to come through, I feel like sometimes it can really smooth out those dry patches and that dry texture. I will be curious to see whether or not that happens throughout the day. I do like that it's more of a matte foundation though. That's just more of my comfort level, and it is a more full coverage foundation, so I really do like that. I will check in with you guys in a few hours in natural daylight so you can see what it's looking like in that lighting, and I will talk to you guys soon. It is now 3:41. So it has been almost 4 hours since I last checked in with you guys. So the good news is that I was right about when my natural oils started to produce on my skin. It did smooth out all of those areas that were looking really dry after I first applied it. The bad news is that it has settled into my smile lines and the lines between my brows, but that's not too uncommon. I am starting to look a little bit shiny, so I guess I am glad that I wore my mattifying primer after all. As of right now, I don't really have any complaints. Everything has kind of smoothed out. I just look really glowy right now, but nothing looks dry anymore, nothing looks cakey. It hasn't gone patchy anywhere. So this is turning out to be a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So I will check in with you guys in probably another 4 or 5 hours and let you know how it's holding up. Hopefully it lives up to the claim of being a 16-hour foundation. Not that I will probably wear it for that long, but yeah, I'll check in with you guys later. It is now 11:15, so I kind of forgot to do a check-in earlier. I've had this foundation on for almost 12 hours, and it was looking really good at like the 4 to 6 hour mark. Last time I checked in with you, my oils had kind of come through and really smoothed out all the dry patches, but at the almost 12-hour mark, I'm feeling like a lot of those dry spots are back. Like it's just really clinging to like my upper lip area and like any of my blemishes. It's just looking really dry, and I hope you can see my nose, but it's like it's almost completely rubbed off of my nose. It has completely rubbed off of my chin. It settled super badly into my smile lines, into my forehead lines. My whole forehead just looks really cakey. My cheek just looks really cakey. Around my mouth, basically it's a hot mess. It's basically just a hot mess. This foundation, if you only needed to wear it for like 4 to 6 hours, probably would be good. But then again, like, I don't know, if you had dry skin, like, it probably would just look really dry. For me, like, the thing that saved this foundation was that my natural oils came through, and it kind of just helped to take the dryness away. But maybe if you had like really oily skin, this would work for you, but it just looks so dry, and I don't have dry skin. It just looks so dry, and it's just gone completely patchy. That just looks bad. Usually I don't have issues with my cheeks, but it's gone completely patchy. I feel like, to be perfectly honest, it didn't really keep like my contour on very much. Like, my highlighter's still there, but like my contour has faded a lot. My blush has faded completely off. It just looks bad. Just looks bad. Not a fan of this foundation. Don't spend $49 on this foundation. I've tried many other foundations that are way cheaper than this, that are way better. It did feel weightless, I will say that. It didn't feel like I was wearing makeup all day. It was full coverage and it did feel weightless. So, you know, that was 2 of its claims at least. But I just can't give this foundation a thumbs up. I don't even know if I would like mixing this one in with others because of just the way that it just feels so dry. I'm gonna go wash this off now and go to sleep. Thank you so much for joining me for Foundation Friday. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in every week. I love you so much. I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.